At time of writing, it's been 5 years since Vivian Madrano's pilot for the crude adult comedy Hazbin Hotel dropped on YouTube, a show about Charlie Morningstar, the Princess of Hell, and her titular hotel, in which she planned to rehabilitate sinners to give them a chance at redemption and spare them from the exterminators of heaven. And now, 5 years later, season 1 of the show has released to critical and fan success and proved that Vivsy's vision for hell resonated with the people of the internet. And then some people whined that there was too much swearing and the hotel staff had but one thing to say.
This is most cool there ever lived in hell. I love him.
All I can tell you is, Husk is the kind of guy who will call you a in a minute.
Fucking love these people. Right, so Hazbin Hotel is finally out and proud, and it's really good, and you should definitely go watch it right now if you haven't. Or if you have, go on, do it. I'll still be here. Probably. Depends on if Content ID decides to be nice to me or not. You can never be too sure on this hell site. For those who don't know, I'm writing real slow and I do things like this now. I don't really have a proper segue, so let's just get into it, shall we? Actually first, let me just say this. I am aware of the controversies surrounding the show and its production, but it's not something I feel equipped to address, and there are more knowledgeable people than me who definitely already have, so go to them for coverage of the drama. Also, I don't need it explained to me in the comments because I won't read it if you do post that, so yeah, I can do my own research, thank you very much. Okay, now we can get into it. Oh, and spoilers ahead. The show picks up a week after the pilot, with Charlie struggling to recruit new members to her hotel because, well, honestly, it's because nobody else really believes redemption is possible. Let's be honest, bicultural as Moses alone, most people know hell as being eternal damnation, emphasis on eternal, and most people stuck there aren't exactly optimists by nature. I'll get into it more when I discuss Charlie as a character, but she really does seem to be the only source of hope in the whole of hell. Anyway, Charlie soon attends a pitch meeting with the leader of the exterminators, who turns out to be Adam,
leader of the Angelic Legion's first man and totally fuckable bad boy,
and an all-around douchebag, who informs her, via one of the best villain songs I've ever heard,
cause hell is forever whether you like it or not. Have their chance to behave better, now they boil in the pot. Cause the rules are black and white, there's no use in trying to fight it. They're burning for their lives until we kill them again.
that hell is forever and they're actually moving up the extermination and that they intend to wipe out all the sinners in hell this time, providing an even more stressful ticking clock to Charlie's mission and kickstarting a panic that spreads throughout all the Pride Ring. If the hands of the clock were both swords of Damocles. The Clock of Damocles. Clockocles? What an asshole. You didn't even look at the pictures. Everything after this is basically in reaction to Adam's announcement, with Charlie's increasing desperation to save her people, pushing her to try different and crazier things, like calling her dad, and eventually leading to her pleading her case to the Court of Heaven itself, who rebuff her entirely, and force her to turn to Alastor for help in fighting to save the hotel, eventually leading to an amazingly cathartic victory, proof she was actually right in her assumption that redemption was possible, and then finally a teaser for season 2, which is confirmed and definitely coming because this show blew people's minds and left them starved for more. I'll be honest, this is basically everything I wanted out of the show. It's not perfect, and I don't believe anything is above criticism, but it's damn good. However, I do need to address some of the potential issues some people may have when watching the show. First, let me get my gushing out of the way. The animation is absolutely gorgeous and snappy, and with the fluidity of movement and the characters' expressions and effects, it is a beauty to behold. The characters are incredibly charming and funny, with one massive exception, but I'll get to that later. And the show is just fun. I like fun things. More things should be fun. Even the hardest moments are relatively brief, and the show manages to never drag or feel bloated. Also, the music fucking slaps. Am I missing anything? I don't know, I'm sure I'll think of it later. Okay, so about that pacing. A lot of people have spoken out about the show's pacing issues, and to be fair, it is paced like Nifty at a sex club. Everything moves very quickly, and despite the 6-month timeline, the show feels like everything happens over the course of a week. People may find it hard to keep up with both the speed of the narrative and the animation at times, and I think that this has led to an attitude that the show rushes too much. However, I don't think that's the case. See, I think the show is actually just incredibly efficiently made. I know a lot of people wanted more time spent exploring the lore and the overlords and more character backstories, and trust me, I want the latter thing, but I don't think it's handled poorly. Vivzy has her priorities straight when it comes to storytelling, and everything is just as long as it needs to be. The Hazbin team worked a lot of visual storytelling into the season, and it's fucking chock full of blink and you'll miss it moments that help tell the story and flesh out the characters far more than simple words would. I was talking to my roommate about it the other day, and I said it felt like a show that desperately wanted to have more episodes, but on reflection, I'm not sure that it wasn't just me as a fan lamenting that we only had 8 total. I think the show's pacing worked in its favour, but I can definitely see how it bothers some people. All that said, the show could definitely have done a better job expressing the passing of time. On a similar note, Season 1 isn't interested in exploring the cosmology or logic of heaven or hell. A huge plot point is that nobody fucking knows what gets you into heaven. At the very end, we still really don't know. I'm sure it's something that will be addressed in later seasons, and I personally don't see this as an issue. I'm absolutely certain it'll be explored later on, but I know it'll drive some people crazy right now. Another thing some people might have a problem with is how the songs are used. I'm sure there's an actual academic term for this, but I just call it narrative songwriting, wherein a good deal of information and story progression and even characterization and growth happens via the songs. I personally love narrative songwriting, but it can definitely be hard for some people to put up with. Also, if you don't like the music, you're probably not going to like the story very much. The two things are intensely entwined, and you seriously need to pay attention during most songs to really get the story. Some people may also find the humour to be too crude for their tastes, which I can definitely see. There's a lot of dick jokes and what would be considered low-brow comedy on display. I'm a child though, and I really enjoyed it. Something else that people may struggle with, and I brought this up in my Writin ramble on Angel Dust, but this series covers some heavy subjects that people may struggle to sit through if they're trauma or abuse survivors. This isn't a mark against the show, but it's important for people to know that the writers do not shy away from heavy subject matter, so viewer discretion is heavily advised for episode 4. Finally, some people feel the show swears too much. Fucking imagine that. Swearing in my good Christian adult TV show about hell? The fucking audacity of it all. If you are one of those people who complained about that, then I regret that I must inform you that you are a fucking nitwit and nobody takes you seriously. Alright, on to the characters. You know, I often find that my opinion of a character doesn't really solidify until I've started writing a video script or actively discussed them with someone. Charlie is currently tied with 2 others for my favourite character, but before that she was tied for 3rd place. See, I fucking love kind characters, and Charlie is nothing if not defined by her naive kindness. Charlie is the only one who believes with absolute certainty that sinners can be redeemed, something that stands in stark contrast to the jaded and tired nihilism of the entirety of the rest of the kingdom. And what I love is that, while she's forced to mature and readjust her approach many times throughout the season, she never loses her conviction that people can be redeemed, or that they deserve the chance. Even at her absolute lowest, she doesn't think her efforts were wasted or that she was wrong about the possibility of redemption. She just thinks that she failed her friends and didn't do a good enough job. She's a genuinely kind soul who sees the best in people and tries to help them to see it as well. There's a reoccurring theme of Charlie saving people, not from extermination, but from loneliness and despair. She nursed Vaggie back to health after she got her eye cut out. She broke through Angel's isolation and earned his devoted friendship, more on that later, and she even got through to Sir Pentious. Pentious is actually the perfect example of how Charlie helps people become better. When he first joined the hotel, he was working undercover for the V's, and when he's found out, Charlie has to intervene to keep Angel and Vaggie from murdering the Pursnick, and it's in this moment that she truly reaches him. A big part of Charlie's character arc is learning that you can't force people to be better, nor can you make them accept your help. You have to connect with people first, and it's something she's struggled with quite a bit. This comes to a head in episode 7 when she's trying to convince the cannibals to join her, and she absolutely loses her shit when Susan heckles her.
Fucking mediocre! Fuck you, you old bitch!
Okay, we'll be back after a brief intermission.
See, Charlie's biggest problem is that she's naive. It's that she doesn't understand humans very well. I mean, she doesn't understand how redemption or heaven work either. Neither does anyone else in the fucking universe, so we let that slide. Like, her idea of what makes someone a good person and heaven-worthy is showering circles and trust falls and fucking Reefer Madness-inspired roleplay. The last part being so painfully Christian and so fucking funny, that's worthy of an award.
Come on, kid. It'll make you cool like me. The crackhead.
Do you remember The Good Place? Well, a big philosophical theme in the show was that the world makes it really fucking hard to be a good person, and most bad things people do are a direct result of how horrible things are. And I think that's why hell is as bad as it is. Sinners are forced to make themselves worse just to survive existing in hell, which just reinforces the excuses angels have for killing them. Really, the biggest lesson Charlie ends up learning is that the system being monstrously unfair doesn't mean it's broken, it means it's working as intended. Just like in real life. But ultimately, Charlie is an amazingly well done character, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where she goes from here. I know the hotel will be getting some new residents in season 2, and I honestly cannot wait to see how she contends with them. Who am I kidding? She's just going to be friends with them all. because nobody can resist her.
Oh, so appealing, Moxie.
Look at her, she's adorable. Also, it's absolutely hilarious that she only really manages to convince the cannibals to work with her with the promise of food. This isn't me criticizing, I'm also highly food motivated. I'm snacking as we speak. If you feed me and tell me I'm pretty, I'll be your friend for life. Vaggie probably went through the biggest character change between the pilot and the release of season 1. She went from being a farmer sex worker who killed an abusive client to a farmer exterminator. And with that came some interesting baggage. She also, very wisely, stopped being the angry Latina stereotype and chilled out more. Though she's still a bad bitch who doesn't take anybody's shit, and is more irritated and sarcastic than just bubbling with constant rage. Honestly, I probably have the least to say about her out of the main cast, aside from Nifty, because she's a pretty simple character. Though don't interpret that as being the same as being bad. I honestly love characters whose whole deal is unwavering devotion. I've written a few myself, and I cannot express just how much I appreciate that Vivzy gave us such a healthy couple in these two. When Vaggie is outed as an angel, dick move Adam, seriously, their relationship turmoil only lasts for about 1 episode, and to be fair, that's entirely on Charlie's side, though her reaction is completely understandable all things considered. I know some people were worried they'd break up, but I never was. The entire premise of the show is second chances, and even if it weren't the case, Charlie was worried Vaggie had lied about the rest of the relationship. But anybody with a single working eye who hadn't just had the girlfriend revelation dropped on them could look at Vaggie and say, seriously? This bitch lives for you, Charlie. Also, look at her face when Adam gets stabbed. That, my friends, is what catharsis looks like. Okay, so I already made a video talking about Angel Dust and how the show handles him and the situation surrounding his abuse and exploitation by Val, so you should just go watch that so I don't have to repeat my points here. That said, I did promise to talk about Angel's friendships in this video, so I'll do just that. Angel gets the Writin Real Slow award for Most Improved Character because he actually has a character now and isn't just a comedy stereotype homosexual persona. One of my friends absolutely loved him from the start, but I took longer to warm up to him. Love him now though, I want good things for him. Actually, he goes to the most character growth as well, openly defying Valentino in the club to keep Nifty safe, as well as just watching over her in general. The old Angel probably wouldn't have bothered. And honestly, Angel's friendships with Charlie and Husk are some of the most genuinely touching things you'll see in the show. When Charlie accidentally ignites Valentino's temper in episode 4, Angel's first priority in a moment of absolute terror is to defend her.
You say?
Look, Val, she just gets involved in everything. I'll tell her to leave. Just don't hurt her.
Nobody would blame him for prioritizing himself there, but he actively provokes Val's ire in an attempt to keep Charlie safe, because she's one of the only people who's ever shown any level of genuine care for him. Hell, she feels the same and probably would have fucking murdered Val if Angel hadn't stopped her. And later, when he gets back and she apologizes, it's the softest moment ever. I mean, look at this.
I'm so sorry, Angel. I promise I won't ever,
Charlie, it's fine. I get it. Thanks for caring about me. I think this is yours.
Okay, Missy, let's get you to bed.
He said he forgave me. It's so beautiful, Vaggie.
I love them. I love their friendship. And his friendship with Husk is similarly beautiful. Speaking of, I love Husk's design. I've always loved gambling-themed powers and clothes for literally no reason. I'm not even a gambler myself unless you count D&D, which is hardcore gambling mixed with improv and math. Husk is one of my favourite characters, and episode 4 only helped to solidify that. It's pretty clear that he understands exactly what Angel's feeling and wants to help him, but he can't do much outside of offering confident friendship, which is honestly a little heartbreaking, but in a good way. It's also interesting to note that during Loser Baby, when they talk about being on that demon's leash, Husk is bound far tighter than Angel, which is such good visual storytelling. Husk is contracted to Alastor and absolutely despises it, and based on this imagery and the way their contract chains look, the constraints of Husk's deal are far, far tighter. He's probably hoping to keep Angel from getting as fucked up as Alastor has him, which, aww. Husk even goes so far as to remind Angel that he's trying to be better in the bar, and even defend his place at the hotel, which is honestly just really sweet. I know a lot of people ship them, and I do too, but if they stayed just good friends, I'd be perfectly fine with it. I don't need them to kiss, I just need them to have each other for us apart, whether that's platonically or romantically. For the record, my top ships are Husk and Angel, because obviously, Charlie and Vaggie, because how could you fucking not, Pentious, and Val with a can of gasoline in a lit match. I think they'd be the hottest throuple to date. Also, if any of you ship Angel with Val, you are repulsive and need therapy. Say hello to favourite character number 2. Honestly, Pentious really came out of left field for me. He was funny in the pilot, but he didn't really stand out thanks to Alastor stealing the show in every scene. But in season 1, I could not get enough of him. Look at him, he's so precious. He's just hanging out in every scene being adorable, and I just want to give him a big hug. God, I'm just going to ramble all day about this dark if I let myself. Pentious ends up being proof positive that redemption works, and even spawns in heaven right next to Sarah and Emily, and look at her fucking face. My baby boy's an angel now, deal with it, bitch. Okay, I don't actually have a lot to say about him. He's just a fucking delight, and I really can't wait for more of him in season 2. I want him to make angelic egg boys, which apparently are automatons, and I don't know why he's so annoyed with them. I mean, Pentious, dude, you made them like this. You're their dad.
What? They say insane shit all the time. How was I supposed to know this one was true?
Bank accounts are a scam created by the shadow government.
See?
Also, his hat turns into a sleeping cap at night. I really want them to tell us if this thing is alive or a part of him or what. God damn, I love this majestic snake boy. Also, I know his death was tragic for the characters, but the instant fuck you beam Adam zapped him with honestly left me thinking that he was still alive and just going to pop out of the rubble. It took me almost the entire rest of the fight to realise he was actually dead and it wasn't a fake out. God, I'm dumb sometimes. Also, it would be remiss of me not to note that he parallels Lucifer in that he's a snake from hell that ascends to heaven, and that he appears in the Seraphim room because a flaming serpent is one of the farms Seraphim take. I don't know if he can be a Seraphim lore-wise, but whatever's in charge of moving souls around obviously has a sense of humour. Nifty has the energy of a squirrel on crack in a Skippy factory, and she's a delight. There's something very obviously wrong with her, but I mean...
We're about 80% sure she's harmless.
Well, not to Adam, but to most other people. Honestly, there's not a lot to say about Nifty at this time. She's basically just a source of non-sequitorial comedy and obvious discomfort for the other characters.
Sometimes I kill mother bugs in front of their children as a warning to others. Yay, pain!
I've heard some wild theories about her though, and my absolute favourite, because it makes no goddamn sense, is that she's the one Alastor made a deal with, which feels like trolling, but I genuinely can't tell with some people. People also theorise that she used to be an Overlord like Husk, since she apparently appears in Alastor's shadow in that one scene like Husk does, but I don't see it. Well no, I think she's just a fun addition right now. And it's absolutely hilarious that she was the one to kill Adam, as she's the singular person in the whole of the cast who could not give less of a shit about who he is or what it means, which is just the perfect end for someone with such an inflated fucking ego. 10 out of 10, best bug. Also, according to the wiki, she's the token straight of the group, which is fucking hilarious. We seriously need a Nifty song in season 2 that's just completely unhinged. If anyone can make it work, it's Kimiko Glenn. Say hello to the final member of my favourite character trifecta. Well, I love Charlie because she's a pure bean, and I love Pentious because he's hilarious and baby. I love Alastor because he's an absolute bastard and a little shit at the same time, and it's the best. From his very first moment on screen, he's been stealing every scene, and he very quickly cemented himself as my favourite from his first line in the pilot. Alastor is fun to talk about because he's basically one big mystery, both to the viewer and the characters. Where'd he come from? For 7 years, where'd he go? Something Cotton Eye Joe. It's been fascinating to learn more about him throughout season 1, and most of it is in the small details and visual storytelling, like his reaction to Zestiel's appearance, his wordless interaction with Rosie, his cryptic bullshit, and his mental breakdown in the middle of the closing song. He's pretty obviously the fandom favourite, and you thirsty fuckers just can't let our ace people have anything, can you? Side note, it's absolutely hilarious that Alastor knows what the T means, but has no idea what asexuality is.
Oh, who's this you brought with you? Come now, Alastor. She's much too young for you. Oh, I'm just kidding. I know you're an ace in the hole.
What now?
Actually, it checks out. He's pretty obviously invested in pissing people off, and the best way to do that is to familiarise yourself with them, enough to know their triggers at least. Which is what he clearly did with Vox, and visibly does with Lucifer. Hell's greatest dad is essentially just him catching on to Lucifer's insecurities and weaponizing them.
It's a little funny. You could almost call me Dad.
The first time I watched that part, I cackled so loudly I scared the cats. And honestly, this is a really good example of how closely you have to watch him, because Alastor has tons of tiny moments that characterize him, and if you watch closely through the song, you can see that his words aren't directed at Charlie, they're always directed at her dad. I do think he has a real form of fondness for her, but definitely not enough to legit see her as a daughter. Alastor likes to feel in control and powerful, which is reflected in his attitude about smiles.
Just because you see a smile, don't think you know what's going on underneath. A smile is a valuable tool, my dear. It inspires your friends, keeps your enemies guessing, and ensures that no matter what comes your way, you're the one in control.
Ah, he worked in retail. Got it. Actually, there might be something to that. Alastor only lays his ears back 4 times, and one of those times is when talking about Susan, who is as much of a Karen as you can get without actually having the name. Oh shit, wait. That's also one of the only times Alastor swears too. He only swears 3 times throughout the entirety of season 1, when having his pissing contest with Lucifer.
I am the host of the hotel. You might have heard of me from my radio broadcast.
Nope. I guess that's why Charlie called it the Hazbin Hotel. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. It was actually my idea.
Ha ha. Well, it's not very clever.
Ha ha. Fuck you.
Okay.
When Adam overpowers him.
What just happened? Fuck.
And when talking about Susan, who is, to be fair...
Who's a bit of an...
Ornery old bitch?
that.
Okay, new fan theory. Alastor worked retail, and that's why he became a serial killer. His code meant that polite customers were safe and rude assholes got murdered. I'm definitely onto something here. I can also absolutely believe that he tried to intimidate Susan once and she heckled him into oblivion. That woman fears no god nor devil. Also, I saw people freaking out over his unclip my wings line and going, is he an angel? And also, save my poor boy! No.
You nitwits.
First of all, that's what we in the writing business call a metaphor. You may have heard of them. When you clip a bird's wings, you are removing its ability to fly. This is Alastor lamenting his lost freedom. Second, don't fucking feel sorry for him. Don't whoopify the serial killer overlord. Lest you forget, everything he's feeling here is exactly what he's subjecting Husk to every damn day.
What did you say?
Nothing,
If you ever say that again, I will tear your soul apart and broadcast your screams for every other disrespectful wretch who dares to question me.
Understood?
Lovely. Good talk, my good man. Always nice to catch up.
Like, I hope he gets free from his deal too, but don't act like this isn't poetic justice for his treatment of Husk. I feel it's important to remind people that overlords aren't good people. They're predators, and I mean that in the very literal sense. They prey on others to capitalize on their moments of weakness and need and make a deal for their souls. And no matter how charming they are, no matter how cool or fun or
Entertaining.
they're all predators. Some in more ways than others, obviously. That said, I really do want Alastor to get free. He's a bastard alright, but he's a fun bastard. And he's our fun bastard. You know, I really like Lucifer. After watching the pilot, I was worried he was going to be some sort of smug, douchey misanthrope who doesn't believe in Charlie's dreams, but that couldn't have been further from the truth. He's actually a depressed and horribly traumatized man who loves his daughter and spends so much time dissociating that he can barely keep up with what's going on around him. He's a real treat, and the way he lights up at the prospect of Charlie wanting to see him is so cute.
My daughter wants to see me. Take that, depression.
I have the exact same reaction whenever I get to see my boyfriend. He's really trying his best, even though it's pretty clear he doesn't know what he's doing.
Daughter calling? Oh, hello, Charlie. Hey, Char. No, that's not good.
Oh, this is the first time she's called you in years. This has to be perfect.
Hey, bitch!
Fucking flawless, my dude. For the supposed sin of pride, his insecurities and his guilt over giving humanity free will are an interesting touch. And it's clear it eats away at him to the detriment of his relationships. He's not a bad dad though, just unintentionally distant, albeit incredibly loving. I really like how, when singing More Than Anything, he just looks morosely resigned when heaven spares are pointed at him. But the thought that Charlie might end up the target is too much for him to bear. Like, damn, heaven absolutely crushed this poor man. Now that the hotel's been rebuilt, and it looks like he has his own suite, I hope we get to see the two connect more. He deserves a second chance at being a good dad. Also,
Check out Daddy's glowing reviews on Yelp. 5 stars! Flawless! Really great!
puppet accounts. Also this.
See, you messed with my daughter, and now I am going to fuck you!
I don't think he misspoke. I think his attitude is literally, I fucked your wives, I'll fuck you too. Fucking king. Did it honestly surprise anyone that Adam was such a douchebag? I mean, he drove Lilith away because he wanted subservience and she wanted equality. You don't get much better foreshadowing for a shat personality than that. I think Adam is a prime example of heaven not actually running on virtue. He's vainglorious, crass, violently misogynistic as well as violent in general, and is just this fucking super annoying frat boy fuckhead of a man. He's got a pretty great villain song though.
Hell is forever, whether you like it or not.
Adam is honestly the perfect villain for season 1 because he represents the natural extension of Heaven's attitude towards sinners, going from not caring if they'll ever die to actively pursuing their elimination. He's also the living embodiment of two flaws in Charlie's redemption plan, those being that Heaven is actively invested in maintaining the status quo and keeping sinners in their place, and that actual morality doesn't play a role in who gets into heaven for the first time. I mean, Emily and Charlie said it best.
If hell is forever, then heaven must be alive. Emily.
It's actually really funny that Adam lists stick it to the man as one of his rules for getting into heaven, considering that he is the man that needs to be stuck to. Is that how you say that? I saw a theory that what gets you into heaven, at least initially, is order, and it made a lot of sense to me. In Welcome to Heaven, St. Peter refers to only two groups, scientists and the extremely polite. Science is all about understanding the universe and assigning an order to things, and being polite is just a very controlled, orderly thing. Adam himself seems to only have gotten to heaven because he didn't rebel in any way, at least as far as the origin story seems to state. I don't know, it's probably not accurate, but it's a fun theory nonetheless. Finally, it's deeply fucking hilarious that a bunch of conservative douchebags started to identify with Adam and then got pissed when he fucking died. Because what the fuck did they think was going to happen? And they should probably think very hard about what all of that says about them. I've already made my feelings on Valentina pretty clear, but the other two just didn't leave as much of an impact on me, though that's admittedly because of my own history with abuse. Vox is hilarious and his fucking obsession with Alastor borders on the fetishistic.
Oh, fuck! I am so hard right now!
Did I say borders? I meant has a permanent residence there. Velvet is my favourite of the three, for reasons that'll come up a little later. I know some people were mad that they didn't help in the fight after talking mad shit at the Overlord meeting.
You've got it twisted. I'm not the one who needs a new attitude. Maybe you missed it, but I'm that hashtag bitch.
But did any of you really expect them to? They're self-obsessed assholes with zero respect for anyone. Velvet was obviously just trying to start shit. They're most likely going to be bigger players in later seasons, which I'm very much looking forward to. Also, I desperately want to see Lucifer destroy Valentina for violating Charlie's arm. Someone needs to put this man out of my misery. Carmilla technically acts as the catalyst for season 1, as she's the one who killed the first exorcist and inadvertently set off the bigwigs in heaven. She's interesting and I hope we learn more about her in the future, but her character is pretty well summarised through her songs. She's primarily focused on protecting her family and she's an arms dealer. She acts like an arms dealer. She's cool, there's just not much to really say about her at this time. Though I do wonder how she has daughters, since officially sinners can't reproduce. I'm guessing she either adopted them or they died and went to hell along with her. Also, the Spanish guitars really want you to know that she's Latinx. Rosie said Ace writes like the queen she is. Rosie's charming and fun, but she's most interesting in her interactions with Alastor. The two are clearly very good friends, considering she can touch him whenever she wants, berate him, joke around, and even offers him info on a potential deal, which logically she should be invested in keeping for herself, but no. The two have this amazing friends since middle school vibe, and it's fantastic to see Alastor so blatantly happy to just see someone. She also got some surprising insights, and like anyone with good taste, she appreciates Charlie. I don't know what else to say, she's just great. And now, because I'm feeling puckish and I will not be denied, someone with absolutely zero musical talent ranks every season 1 song from worst to best. I'm not saying that my opinions are better than yours, I'm just saying that I'm objectively correct. I want to start this by saying that I don't think any of these songs are bad. They're all very well performed and animated, and as stated before, I love narrative songwriting. All that said, I was going over the list of songs for the season and literally said out loud, oh yeah, forgot about that one. And the guy I was watching it with also forgot it existed. And if there's anything particularly damning about a piece of media, it's when it fails to leave an impression at all. I was originally going to put this at the very bottom, but then I remembered that I forgot Welcome to Heaven, so that changed things. My complaint about this song is that it feels like it replaced the actual scenes of the characters getting to know each other that we only hear about right after, which feels especially egregious to me as someone invested in characters and stories. It's also the weakest of the songs that Carmilla sings, plus it's the least interesting to watch overall. Daphne Rubin Vega and Stephanie Beatrice make a hell of a duet though. So Pentious is the only thing that keeps us from falling below whatever it takes. His overdramatic swooning is just too good. Other than that though, this song feels like it only really exists because the episode needed a second musical number, and you never want any part of a piece of media to feel like it only exists out of obligation. After this song, they're all really hard to properly place, and they're all really good, so you'll have to forgive me if I put something lower than you think it should go. This is really hard for an indecisive bitch like me. This song is really fun and has some really good harmonization, but it's also the very first and, despite its place on the list, is actually right about. That says more about how much I love the other songs than it does about how much I dislike this one. It's fun, but that's about it. Out for Love is only really held back by how short it is. It's otherwise fantastic. I especially love how the sounds of Carmilla's footsteps punctuate her words, and the choreography is absolutely stunning. It does a better job of characterizing Carmilla than Whatever It Takes, and with a third of the runtime. Vox progressively losing his shit is the best part of the entire episode. This song is really fun and catchy, and Alastor is such a bitch. I love him. It just doesn't do as much for the story as the following songs on the list. I'm not going to lie, the punk in me fucking adores Velvet for fucking with the status quo and calling people out. She really is such a bitch. This song also does a fantastic job of characterizing her and setting up the reveal of Carmilla's internal conflict. I just wish it were longer. Also, here's a drinking game for Hazbin Hotel. Take a shot every time Spanish guitars play when Carmilla speaks or sings. Adam is such an annoying piece of shit. This is another good setup song, and it serves, as far as I can tell, as the only real villain song of the show so far. Stayed Gone doesn't really count because Alastor steals it. This song fucking rocks, and the callback to Hell is Forever is metal as hell. It also really hammers home just how much Emily and Charlie parallel each other, and the character interactions are golden. Also, if anything was going to give away that the angels aren't really the bastions of morality they seem to be, Sarah's face, right here, I can only think to describe this as maniacal zealotry. I gotta be honest, you could switch any of the songs between 7 and 3 and I'd absolutely still agree with their placement. They're all just too good. For a rallying song, it's as fun as you'd expect, and it's amazingly cathartic to see Charlie finally succeed in inspiring people. It also reminds me of Kamikat's Assembly song, which I'll link to down below because it has very similar vibes. It's really good. Moving on. Okay, so while this is probably the song I've replayed the most, I can't justify putting it any higher just based on that. It's the funniest fucking thing to watch, and watching Alastor and Lucifer have a ham off is a genuine fucking delight. The small details are fucking amazing, and Mimsy's interruption is peak comedic timing. This song was at the center of the "Is the show fetishizing angels' abuse?" controversy, and the answer is no. If you want a full explanation, watch my video on the subject. It's a good song. You know, I found that my opinions on the songs changed a bit as I was writing this. Originally, I didn't think all that much of this song, but now I really like it. It manages to capture not just the feelings of the moment and the characters, but the energy of the season as a whole, and it sets up the conflict for the next season. Plus, it's just great having the entire hotel singing together, and the callback to Happy Day in Hell is just a great touch. This song manages to go from heartbreaking to hope-inspiring in a very short amount of time, and the connection made between Charlie and her dad is just so emotionally visceral that it's almost hard to sit through. It's absolutely beautiful start to finish. The reprise is just more of the same, but gayer and romantic this time. I'm a sucker for genuine emotional connection, so sue me. I originally put it around 7th place, but the more I thought about it, the more I liked it and the more I had to rearrange the list. Sadly, it couldn't take the number 1 spot, which I chose at the start and just never changed. I won't pretend to be unbiased about this. I fucking love this song. I love when two broken characters find comfort in each other. I love when grumpy assholes are soft with people who need it, and I fucking love Keith David's voice. This song is so good and so hopeful, and it's just the best. You don't have to take my word for it either. Apparently, it's in the number 1 slot for Billboard's 100 Bubbling Under, which I genuinely had no fucking idea was a thing until I started making this video. But it's nice to see the song is getting the recognition it deserves. Hazbin Hotel isn't going to be for everyone, and you'll never hear me claim it's perfect. No work is above criticism, and this is no exception. But overall, I really think the show has some amazing potential, and it's well worth your time to give it a look. I was honestly worried it just wouldn't come out for the longest time, so seeing it not only made, but made this well, that's just fantastic. I absolutely cannot wait for more, and I know I'll be finding joy in this for a long time to come. Absolutely go watch it, it deserves a chance, maybe even a second one. If you can't afford the Amazon membership, or just morally object to giving them your money, then yo ho yar har filthy dee. Do it for him, for he died for our sins.